Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is April Hutchinson, and I am the editor of TTG Luxury, working at TTG Media. Delighted to be here again for an episode of One Week at a Time with Claire Moore, who is the Managing Director of Peaks Travel Elite in Shrewsbury. Thanks for joining us again, Claire, today. A nice sunny day. I assume it's sunny there as well in Shrewsbury.
Yeah, beautiful blue skies here.
Lovely behind you as well in the picture, which is great. Yeah. We'll come back to that in a bit. Also, I wanted to start off with a nice positive note today. You may have seen this morning or heard about all the news on our channels about the TTG Top 50 list, which has just been announced this morning. And you were obviously the current holder of the #1 agency for UK and Ireland. So you're going to have to hand over that crown soon. But I wonder if you can just tell us a little bit about, what that's meant to you, and obviously for agents who've just got that news this morning, what they might be able to do with that positive message that's come through.
Yeah, it's a great time, I think, to get some good, reassuring news out there that there are agents that can look after their customers brilliantly. Got great innovative ideas. But I think it's all about that point of reassurance at the moment. So such an accolade is huge. It was great for us and for our business. So yeah, congratulations to everybody.
Oh, good. And we're back to the day-to-day business. Last time we spoke, you were happy to be in a position of bringing back a colleague from furlough to help on the admin side of things, which I'm sure we hope that lots of agencies will be, looking at how they can bring some people back as we move forward. Do you feel in a better position now in terms of all that admin and sort of financial accounting things that you were feeling weren't quite getting as much attention from you as possible?
Yeah, we've now, it's still work in progress, the battle continues, but we're much more able to adequately forecast, see how bad the losses are, how we can use those figures to turn it into something positive going forward. So certainly not in a position to be able to afford financially to bring somebody back, but it was definitely the right decision.
Something that needed to be done, yeah. And although everyone's in the different financial year process, etc., you were able to extend your financial year end returns, which has helped you to a degree, hasn't it? Was that something anyone else would be able to make use of, do you think?
So. I think huge learning curve, hasn't this whole experience been for all of us in lots of ways. But I didn't realise, but you can actually have a one-off financial year end for up to 18 months. So our year end would normally be 31 December. And we, the latest we could go to is 30 June. We might do that, we probably will. But we're working on that. ABTA have been really supportive of us through that. It just helps us balance some of those months of huge losses earlier this year against the brilliant year that we had last year. So it helps with things like corporation tax bills and things like that.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Good for you. On a different level, honestly, I don't know how you've been running a business and trying to keep everybody up to date with what's going on and your team and everything. There was still a lot of talk about loans happening around in the industry, and we heard one agent, Gemma from Hazelmere, called it a bounce forward loan, as something that, if an agent did still feel they wanted to take, perhaps to use it in that way. Did you go down that road in the end, or is it still an option that you're thinking of?
No, we've done it, and we have it. Honestly, hoping not to use it, but if it even plugs that gap, maybe for Q1 of 2021, where we we all hope, don't we, we're going to have that busy burst of bookings, but potentially not enough travellers actually departing, so that we've got a bit of a cash flow gap. That was the reason behind it.
Just literally having the bank as a cash flow gap. And talking about a good cushion to have. Talking about people travelling, if they are at all. You have now got, perhaps your biggest month coming up will be September. Is that right, for departures? Obviously, all the early summer stuff has been taken care of. Do you have still a lot? Do you have a lot coming up that's due now for September? And what kind of thing? What kind of trips are they in September? And do you think they might still be going ahead?
Well, and that is the question. So the conversation I'm having with customers around balances is it's kind of evolving, because actually, let's hope we'll all be travelling in some shape by September. Does that mean that we're going to be able to go off to a beautiful wilderness lodge in Canada and, bolt on all these marvellous things? Who knows? So for us, most people are choosing to rebook. Generally, they're quite high value, well, very high value bookings in some cases. So people don't necessarily want to hand over the cash, but they still want to keep something to look forward to. So our rebook rate is brilliant, but all for 2021.
Yeah. Okay. So even customers who are still not due to travel till the end of the year, they're still coming to you saying, should I put it forward?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because I heard some agents were making the decision literally to contact all agents on the books, all customers on the books for 2020, just offering at this stage just to say, guys, it might be just better if we say now, let's move it, rather than face that balance conversation with people later on down the line. Do you think is that sort of where you're ending up going anyway? Do you think it's a good idea for people to?
I do. I think probably it's a time and resource thing for us. I'm in touch with people, so they're 7 to 10 days before the balances are due, and on a rolling week by week basis. So in touch with, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 people each week. And then that starts a cycle of its own, which is to discuss the options, leave it with the passengers. They'll probably come back. Generally, they want us to requote it for next year, and then it's the kind of administration around that, really. So it's a time-consuming task. If you can go ahead as far as you can, then in one way I think that's brilliant. Another way, I am concerned that we're not able to give the most up-to-date information. The advice that we're giving needs to be current and relevant and up to date, really.
Yeah, so we could have contacted someone to move something when perhaps later down the line they could have gone. So okay. And as you say, the workload of doing that is quite intense. What about the sort of the refund debate? I assume that's rolling on still, and some customers who have had 10 weeks now might still not have got their refund. Is it still tough out there, and is it still the same sort of culprits really that aren't helping with it?
Really tough. So of course, those people that were affected right at the beginning are, as you say, now in touch again to say, look, it's been 10 weeks, what's happening? We are chasing those operators, but some operators are making it really very difficult to get hold of somebody, and then to get hold of the right person, and so it's a shame. There are operators that actually I think are downgrading the effectiveness of the RCN policy. It only takes a few for customers to actually think, it's not necessarily worth anything, because this refund is going to take me 10, 12, 14 weeks anyway.
Which is a shame, because it's something that we've all been kind of relying on, isn't it, as a lifeline to keep out there for customers. You're also, I think, going to be opening up the phone lines back for peaks, because I assume that when this all started, you just, to cope with the volume of calls and not having staff around, shut them down. What are you hoping, or what are you hoping will and won't come in on those phone lines, and why have you chosen to do it now?
Well, I think we've chosen to do it now because we have slightly more staff resource, because I feel that things generally feel more positive. We have a lot more new inquiries. There is new business that we're working on, which is great. Of course, there are going to be those customers who maybe would call at the moment, receive the message that they need to drop us an email rather than speak to someone, and then they actually realise that it wasn't necessarily so urgent that they speak to us. So there will be a good chunk of time, I'm sure, caught up dealing with things that unfortunately we don't have the power to change right at the moment. But I also think it's important to now show that we are starting to be available.
Show a bit more of normality if that's possible. To the outside world.
Exactly. We started to do some more social media over the weekend.
Excellent.
And that actually it's got a great response. I didn't want to come straight through with price-led stuff, but just want to keep that relationship side going, really.
Okay. So historically, who would have taken care of the social media, and what kind of things did you decide to put out this weekend if it's now you that's kind of taking care of it?
Yeah, one of the team members here has always looked after that. Everybody has input, but it's more one person's responsibility. But of course, that, along with most things, has fallen to me. Actually on Friday, I put something out there to say we're going to close the office on a Saturday. We're currently working Monday to Friday anyway, but customers wouldn't necessarily know that. So I just put a nice message out there to say that, the great work that they've been doing, supporting customers with refunds and rebooking lovely trips. Some really nice messages of thanks on there, which was great. And then I think we just did Saturday was a share a blue sky moment of Shropshire whilst we're not able to explore more exotic locations, I suppose. And again, there were some really lovely, beautiful gardens. I mean, you can tell that some of these people have been home working hard in their gardens. But it was really lovely. Just a bit of personality, really, to show customers that we're still around. And this week I want to work forward to more inspirational stuff. Just build it up, really.
And for that inspirational content that you're going to put out, is that something suppliers can help you with or get in touch about, or is it things that you have in mind anyway? Because I know suppliers who do have the resource are obviously keen to try and work with agents they can to work promotional materials. Is that something that would be useful for you, or how would you go about the inspirational side of things?
If our tour operator partners can work with us to make that job quicker for those companies that like us, which have very limited staff resource for that, then that would be amazing. For us, and this is only my opinion, for us it would be inspirational stuff, a reassuring tone of voice, that whilst the world isn't quite open yet, that it would, it's coming, and we can all start to look forward to something.
Well, that makes sense, doesn't it, really? As you said, you don't want to have lots of offer-driven stuff, because I'm sure that's not really how you would have normally done things anyway, is it? It's no point suddenly changing your personality in social media.
And for us, social media was a channel to stay in touch and to involve our customers. It wasn't ever really a selling tool. Of course, that's what it ultimately aims to be, but more of a slow burn.
Okay, well, hopefully that goes well this week and people start to engage a lot more. Big news last week from the Treasury. One of the faces most of us have looked forward to seeing, well, we look forward to seeing when he comes on to Rishi to tell us about what's happening with the coronavirus job retention scheme, etc. So if I got it right, you could be bringing back furloughed staff part-time from 1st of July, with companies able to decide hours and shifts, and the government still paying into that, of course, and then this tapering out. What does that mean for you? Can anything go forward now for you from that change?
Early days,
is it helpful?
Probably. Yeah, I mean, it has to be helpful, doesn't it? More flexibility is what we've wanted all along. The real challenge is finances. How can we afford to bring back more people. We need to stimulate the business, and we need our staff here to do that, but actually still no income. So it's a really careful balance. What I'd hate to do is do something too soon and actually put all of our great work at risk. It's very early days, and I've got lots of decisions to make this week for sure.
Yeah, it is definitely a catch-22, isn't it? You need people back in to help generate business and take bookings, but you've got to be paying people to come back in and work. Of course,
needs to be done responsibly, doesn't it?
Yes, exactly, and hopefully to avoid a disaster of lots of unemployment happening, later down the line for agencies. At TTT we do a weekly agent tracker where we ask the sentiment of lots of different agencies out there, and when we asked them what the biggest issue facing agents was last week, not surprisingly it was the quarantine, because that was the most recent announcement. Do you think that had any more panic impact customers, or were they just already resigned to the fact that they weren't going anywhere soon anyway, so it didn't really have that much of an impact on them? And is there any way around it? Are there any customers who you think would be almost acceptant of a quarantine should they come from their holiday and things like that?
I think different camps, as there is with most of the stuff that we're dealing with. I have got one lady who has got some challenging personal circumstances. She lost her husband recently, and she's desperate to go to St. Lucia. Wants to travel in December, but is really concerned that by doing that, if this quarantine is still in place, and of course we all hope it won't be, but if there is something, she risks spending Christmas on her own, which mentally is the worst possible thing for her, and does all that great stuff that the luxury holiday did for her. Yeah.
Just undo it all because you come home and have to spend Christmas on your own.
Equally though, on the quarantine note, of course we've all had to become better at working at home, haven't we? So if for some people they are willing to do that, they've got their head around the whole travel thing. Some people could cope with a 2-week quarantine. So some customers are saying that, but really, really mixed, depending on personal circumstances, I'm sure.
Yeah, of course. I'm sure it's the same for everybody else as well. Yeah. And obviously, travel insurance is an ongoing issue. If the FCO advice is still in place, no one knows for sure when it might be lifted. Rumours abound, I'm sure. But yeah, if we can't, if that invalidates insurance, then it's tricky to travel, isn't it? But at least if people were in Europe and they had their EPIC card, they could still be covered for certain elements of it. But do you think that insurer policy is a big issue for people, or are you seeing any policies come out that have COVID built into them now, or is it still no one's issuing policies that are helpful, or what's happening there?
A bit mix, I think. Insurance companies, like some travel companies, haven't covered themselves in much glory, I think. I have come across one policy with Citybond, which has got provision for COVID related challenges within it. I don't really know enough detail about it at the moment, but it's certainly something we'll be looking into.
Trickling through, yeah. Okay. And we mentioned earlier about your backdrop, which is different to our usual. I've still got my plant, but you have moved on to a new backdrop, which is a real, not a virtual one, it's a real change of background for you, because you're back in the shop. So what's happening there? You mentioned, about letting customers know that you're still around, but what's your thinking now on how you're going to roll things out?
So we are now 3 members of staff in the office, really well socially distanced. We've all got our head around, we're 2 weeks in nearly, so we've got our heads around shared contact areas. Basically everybody walks around with a anti-bac squirt, squirting everything as we've finished it. I'm doing, of course, light switches, banisters, all of that stuff, but we all work quite independently within our own workspace. So we've managed to reduce a lot of the shared contact areas, which has worked brilliantly. Going forward, I would like to see an extension of that. Really, what I'm hoping the figures that I'm working on this week are how we come out of this, and at baby steps probably. We won't open on the 15th of June. Phone lines will be on, and we'll be working here, but very much with a closed door policy. But I'd like to put some resource into making our window a bit more enticing now, just kind of growing on the I know they're babies, but the green shoots which are around, and continue that momentum.
And what are you hearing from the town itself, from Shrewsbury, or has it always been, I'm sure it's always a vibrant, buzzing sort of town, but what are you hearing in terms of what other people are doing, and are you part of any local drive to sort of try and spread the word that things are opening, things like that?
Yeah, well, the bids have been in touch this morning with various I don't know, tape and various signs that we can show people that we're open when we are, and that it's a safe place to be. I'm just very conscious that is that the safety of the team is the number one priority. Of course, customers as well, but actually the safety of my team here is absolutely my priority. So I'm hoping that we might open maybe on an appointment basis from the 1st of July.
Okay.
So we'll still have a closed door policy, and we'll only see people with an appointment. I've worked out how we can set up the office in a safe way, and just see what the demand for that is. Yeah.
See how many people are out and about as well in the town as things start to unravel themselves a little bit. And lastly, I don't know about you, but I've been getting lots of emails from hotels telling us how they're doing their thing, how they're reopening themselves in terms of hygiene changes in restaurants, things like that. Is that starting to become a thing for you now? Is it almost a little bit overwhelming? How are you sort of keeping tabs on what each different hotel company is doing, and how relevant is it for you to know and to help with your clients?
I think it is really relevant, but it's the information overload, isn't it, like you say? So we're still doing what we always were. Before we approach a customer that will need some information, we'll go and check actually what they need. Look at that advice first, so it's up to date. Thousands of emails sitting in your inbox is maybe not the most helpful, but everyone wants to get their message out, don't they? And it's a positive step, I suppose.
Yeah, it is positive to see all these different things happening, and I think everybody's learning from what the others are doing in terms of what needs to be the basics and what's the over and above that. I'm seeing lots of hotel groups saying that amenity packs will have hand sanitizer in them, and all those different kind of things that you'd sort of expect these days. Okay, well, thanks very much for talking to me again. That's the end of our session, and hopefully the sun stays shining and you have a good week, and some more inquiry keep coming in for you. We'll have more agent talk tomorrow with our Agent Matters session at 11 o'clock on Facebook, which will be talking specifically to cruise agencies, to see what's been happening in their world. And on Thursday, Keep Your Business Alive is the 4th edition of TTG's virtual seminar, which our brilliant Sophie Griffiths will be running. So that's on Thursday afternoon, full of lots of tips on how to keep the engine running if you can. But until I see you again with Claire, have a good week, everybody, and take care. Thank you for watching.
Thank you.